Hey, I'm Linda. Welcome to my channel if you're new here. On my channel, I talk a lot about the Ankh. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between working with a physical Ankh like this one or a visualized Ankh. And if you're interested in learning more about the meaning of the Ankh, the purposes of the Ankh, you can watch one of my other videos about it. But for today, the focus is on the difference between these two options. So just a little bit of background. Several years ago, I had a healing with an Ankh, an energy healing. And surprisingly, the Ankh pulled a huge block off my chest that I've been carrying around for a really long time. I'll share my story in more detail in another video, but just so you know how I started to get interested in the Ankh and what actually pushed me to start working with it and learning about it. And because now I use it for my own energy healing, I do energy healing for other people with it. And I think it's such a beautiful, amazing tool for energy work that I just feel like I really want to share it. And I really hope that more people will learn about the Ankh. So let's first talk about the physical Ankh. What's great about the physical Ankh is that it actually helps you channel and send life force energy. So it's a conductor or an amplifier of life force energy, which is the energy of creation, the energy of life. And because the Ankh is an object like any other object, it has its own frequency. It radiates a certain energy. All objects do, all people do, all living beings do, everything does. And the Ankh does too. It's called shape radiation, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later in this video. But the energy that the Ankh radiates is perfect for energy healing because it's the energy that you want to embody and that you want to connect with. If you're like thinking, what does that mean? Well, you are an energy being with an energy flow, and all the pain and trauma and conditioning that you're storing somewhere in your body or in your energy system, you want to clear, because the more of those blocks you clear, the lighter and the more free you'll actually feel. And why a physical Ankh is really handy for that is because it helps you connect to the energy more tangibly. So it's easier to feel it physically when you're having an Ankh session in person, but even over a distance, using the Ankh can help to amplify that energy. The more you're able to sense energies like that, the more you're practice with meditation, but also the more sensitive you are to unseen energies around you, the more you will feel the effects of the Ankh. And the more you will notice, you will experience tingling through your body. You can feel flow of energy sometimes, or you can really feel that it's lifting a block off of you, which can happen in the form of an emotion coming out. And it can also happen in the form of a quick flow of energy that you just feel something's released. It really depends. And I really love how the Ankh surprises you every single time again on what it can do and how it works. But by just trusting your intuition while working with the Ankh, you can really take you on a journey, and it can really show you what's possible without you having to intellectually understand why it's doing a certain thing. It will just by opening yourself up to that and following the instructions of the guides connected to your Ankh, you will be able to release certain energetic blocks that you're not able to release otherwise. Another thing I really love the Ankh for is to help me ground my energy. It's really powerful to help you ground. So if you feel that you need some extra tools to help you bring your energy down a lot more when you're in your head a lot or there's a lot going on, the Ankh is really helpful to do that. And again, having a physical Ankh to do that helps you to do it in a more tangible way. So you don't have to go into meditation first. You can just lay it under your chair, for example, maybe under your bed. You can lay it in bed at your feet, and you'll notice it will do something without you having to actively try or allow or visualize anything. So that's why I really think a physical Ankh is a really good addition to your practice. I do want to add that if you want to use an Ankh for healing, I recommend an Ankh of this around this size. So I think this is 20.5 centimeters. I don't know exactly, but you have different ones around 20 centimeters. Sometimes they're 21, sometimes there might be 19.5, but around this is a good size. And also, if you have a smaller Ankh, you can also use that, try it out, but the energy will be less strong than with a larger Ankh. And also for energy healings, I recommend to get an Ankh with 2 legs instead of 1 leg. I have more information about the differences in other videos on my channel, but the 2-legged Ankh basically embodies the masculine and the feminine pole. And that's why it's so strong for energy healing. It's a different vibration than a 1-legged Ankh. And another thing that I really love about a physical Ankh is that over time, when you work with it and when you have the Ankh attuned to your frequency from when you start working with it, it will really attune to your frequency more and more and more over time. It will start to carry your intention. and it becomes a really personal tool for healing for you. And you will notice that when you work with it a bit longer, and for example, you use an Ankh of someone else for healing, it will feel very different than your own Ankh. And again, this is something that over time you will become more sensitive to, you become attuned to. I also learned it in the beginning, and I believe most people can learn if you're willing, if you have the intention to learn this, and you're really willing to open yourself up to it, you can really do so much more than you think when it comes to energy work. And so again, the Ankh can really help you open that up, and it can really help you connect with that in a more tangible way than if you would not have anything physical to help you. In case you wonder, how can a physical object radiate a certain energy? Let me talk a little bit more about what shape radiation is. So I mentioned it earlier. Different types of shapes radiate different types of energy. You can think of an antenna, for example. Antennas are always pointy or have a specific shape because then they can broadcast or radiate certain frequencies or certain radio waves. Pyramids, another great example. So pyramids used to be energy conductors as well, or are energy conductors, and they gather a lot of energy at the base, and because they're pointy, they are directing the energy upward, and that's why pyramids have the shape they do. So you can also feel when you're in a pyramid, you can really feel that it's a specific energy field in there. That's also how it works with an Ankh in some way. The Ankh also has a specific shape and therefore a specific frequency that it emits. So as I mentioned earlier, the Ankh represents life force, so the energy of creation. It represents the perfect balance, so the balance between the earthly realm, the material world, and the spiritual world, the masculine and feminine energy. That's why an Atlantean Ankh with 2 legs emits a different frequency than an ancient Egyptian Ankh with 1 leg, and that makes this specific type of Ankh really good for energy healing. Also, the material matters. Metal is a really good material for a physical Ankh because it's very conductive to energy. In the past, like ancient Egypt or Atlantis, they were also used made out of gold, for example. But these days, I mean, I don't think a lot of people can afford a golden Ankh. So a lot of the Ankhs are made out of copper or brass, for example. There's also Ankhs made out of crystals, which I think is also really amazing. It's very different frequency. In another video, I will show you my crystal Ankh, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. This Ankh is obviously made out of brass, so you can really try what works for you. There's also Ankhs made out of wood. Of course, wood is not as conducive to energies as metal would be. But for example, if there's a specific type of wood that you feel really drawn to for any reason, you can also decide to work with an Ankh made out of wood. You could always try. So when you hold a physical Ankh, you can try it for yourself and see how it feels to you. Also, if you have the opportunity to try different physical Ankhs, to feel different physical Ankhs, then by all means try it out and see what you feel with the different Ankhs. Of course, it can be hard in the beginning to feel it. It's something that you can practice, you can train, and just give yourself the space to do that. And maybe you're already naturally very sensitive to energies, or maybe you find it harder to feel it. I encourage you to just try it out to see what you feel with a physical Ankh. And if you find it hard to feel and sense energies like that, you can start with simple meditation practices or basic energy healing practices to get you started. Okay, and now you might wonder, so then when would I want to work with a visualized Ankh rather than a physical Ankh? Well, there's a few benefits of visualizing an Ankh. One is that it's a more internal and subtle way of working with the Ankh. Also, of course, if you have a physical Ankh, you don't have it with you. By visualizing it, you can always connect with the energy. So that's really great. So if you do have some experience with meditating and maybe with energy healing and visualization, you might find it very easy to connect to the Ankh's energy and to visualize it. But for some people, I know it's not so easy to do. And if you find it hard to visualize, for example, then working with a visualized Ankh is a really good way to practice your visualization skills and your meditation skills. So I would definitely encourage you to start and try. But if you feel that's hard to do, then a physical Ankh can really be a great way for you to start practicing. So what a visualized Ankh is really great for is to strengthen your spiritual connection, to open your intuitive channels, and for your own inner healing. So if you have a specific thing you would like to work on, it's really good to go into a meditative state and to try to ask the Ankh to guide you and to show you where your blocks are and how it can be healed. So if you want to work on an inner block, for example, you can use a visualized ankh really well in any way you want. For example, you can imagine it flowing above your head and the energy is just guided through your body and it's helping you clear the block. And I think it's even better to combine both the physical ankh and a visualized ankh. There are moments, for example, when I don't have my physical ankh with me and I want to call in the energy of the ankh to visualize it. You can even through visualization connect with the energy of your own physical ankh. You can call it in that way if you want to. And I find that it can really help to clear blocks if you're doing an energy healing. And if you use the physical ankh with that, you can always decide to combine it with a visualization to make it even more powerful. And again, I think you should just try out what works for you and you will definitely be surprised. In a nutshell, the key differences between a physical ankh and a visualized ankh. So the first one is that a physical ankh is a more tangible and more grounded energy, and a visualized ankh is a more intuitive, more subtle energy. Well, a physical ankh is really great to use for energy healings, especially the two-legged one. It's really good to clear spaces as well, or for hang up for protection in your house, for example. And a visualized ankh, of course, can also help you with your self-healing, but it's more of a meditative way, of an introspective way to work with the block. Another way is the direction of the energy flow in some way, because with a physical ankh, you are calling in life force energy and you're basically directing it through the ankh into the material, I would say. So, for example, you're healing someone, you're directing energy with the ankh at the person that you're doing a healing for. Or, of course, if you are receiving a healing for yourself, you can direct it through the ankh to your own body. And when you work with a visualized ankh, you are directing the energy upward because you're basically surpassing the body and you try to connect to the energy of the ankh through the energetic field around you, which surpasses the body. And another difference is the way that the energy is activated. So the energy of the physical ankh is activated through touch, through the physical ankh, and through movements. Because with an ankh like this, you need to do certain movements, certain ways, certain practices to induce the energy and to work with the energy. That's a little bit different, for example, with a crystallized ankh, but more on that another time. And with a visualized ankh, of course, you work more through visualization, sometimes through the breath, through intention. So again, it's a little bit of a different way of working with the ankh. So if you would like to learn to work with the ankh as well, whether that's a physical ankh or a visualized one, I am creating an online ankh introduction course, which contains all the information you need to start working with the ankh. It contains energy healing basics, so it's for everyone, even if you don't have experience with this. It also contains a lot of ways you can work with the ankh for your personal healing and how you can call in the ankh that's right for you, some daily rituals and some ways you can clear energetic blocks with the ankh for yourself. So if that interests you, there's a link in the description. Go check it out. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I will see you in the next video.